Yo. The views and opinions of this podcast are ours and don't reflect the opinions of any game developer, inside information, or any company. These are our goddamn thoughts. If you are offended by controversial takes on gaming, broken English, and or gratuitous cussing, you might want to turn away at this point in time. But if not, welcome to the Blasian Invasion. Welcome to the fourth episode of the WaggleFest podcast, as I am joined by my good friend, Brooklyn Wolf the Collector. What's good, homie?
Are you the baddest? Are you the meanest?
Show enough.
What is going on, my friend?
I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling. How are you?
Same old. Can't complain.
All right. I mean, listen, let's just jump into it. The biggest thing happening in gaming are these increasing prices. And, a couple of weeks ago, Microsoft announced that the 2 terabyte version of the Series X is now retailing for $799. But in another move, they just raised the prices of GamePass again. And the ultimate monthly, for the ultimate pass, it's now $30 a month, bro.
Yeah. That's it's pretty wild, man.
I don't even know listen, here's the thing, right? When we start talking market, like the market is dictating or whatever, cool, I get it. There are things happening because of the political climate, but also when we really just think about the economic climate, that's a lot of bread, and gaming is an expensive hobby as it is. To get a game on day one, you're spending $70 in its current generation. And I mean, granted, with Game Pass, you would imagine that you're not. But does the ends justify the means if you're spending $30 a month? You know what I'm saying? That's a lot.
I think, what's that phrase? If there's a will, there's a way. Gaming, it's how do I say this? We don't necessarily need it, but we can't live without it. It's ingrained in our lives, and if we want to play, we're gonna pay. I think that's just the bottom line. It's I don't want to get political. I don't want to talk about any of that shit, but you look at situations where, for example, when there are certain things that like, for example, Blizzard or the head company Activision was linked to something that was bad or something like that, and then people were saying, "Oh, you gotta boycott this game." No one boycotted the game. They don't care about what's going on in the real world, and they're gonna keep playing their games, right? So the same thing happens with gaming, right? Where, it jumped up $10-15 or what have you. Then people are not going to care. It's going to affect maybe a small group, but ultimately people are just going to pay it because gaming is just way too important for a lot of people. That's just the way how I see it. It's sort of like in my case, for example, right? My own example is the Switch 2, right? And everything that came along with it, from the launch, the games, the amiibos. Fortunately I could afford it, but in the long run, it's if I did not spend that money for that game or that amiibo, it could have went into something else. I could have bought another game, right? A cheaper game or what have you. But it's just one of those things where it's people are just going to pay it. They're just going to pay it.
It's funny. I absolutely disagree with you. And I don't think... So here's a perfect example, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cost of Game Pass monthly is essentially $360, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that $30 Ultimate Game Pass level, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are people who do not spend $360 on gaming a year. Like,
Right.
regardless of if they purchased a console, right? And the thing about Game Pass, and I think if you look at the historical prices, even just like not that long ago, the ultimate Game Pass, I think was like 17 bucks. So what you're saying is that it's gone up a significant amount. Like it is gone up like, by more than, you know what I'm saying, 50%. So I just kind of feel like it's easy to say that people will pay it, and I understand and I respect your perspective on that.
Hmm.
I think the point of Game Pass was that it made gaming affordable and accessible. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the difference. Like, that $17 a month, right? Or that $20 a month even, was access to everything that you probably wouldn't buy. Like, if you had Game Pass Ultimate, you were not buying games throughout the year because that afforded you day one access to so many games. Now, I mean, I think it's just a different world where it's like $30 a month is very different from $20 a month, very different from $15 a month. And I also just kind of feel like at that price point, I might as well, if I'm not buying that many games a year, I might as well just get the things I actually want,
True.
because
True.
it ends up being cheaper, or it could prospectively end up being cheaper. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're someone who really only invest your time into a couple of major games, because that's the thing about Game Pass. To me, the benefit is that, hey, maybe I'm not into clear obscure, right?
Hmm.
But I'll try it because I have Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I like, you know what I'm saying? Uh, I mean, insert any game title, right? And it's like, oh, but I can try it because it's available. But now it's like, I think that becomes something very different.
True. And I think the people apparently that a lot of people were canceling the Game Pass subscription, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. I guess my opinion on it is wrong. I guess I don't know, because I just feel like when you look at the sales of the Switch 2 and the crazy price hike that Nintendo did, people still bought it, right? So I was like applying that kind of mentality to I guess Game Pass. But then it just hit me, like I was like, oh, that's right. Like I read that article or that headline that a lot of people were canceling their Game Pass subscriptions. So yeah, I guess they just feel like it's reached past that threshold of what they're willing to pay to essentially get games for free.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think that, and listen, this, I want to be clear, this is not about right or wrong. I think we're both entitled to different perspectives and opinions on it.
Hmm.
But I think when you're looking at subscription-based like pricing, right? At every threshold, like the reason why people cut the cord with cable, which was a subscription, was because having Hulu and Netflix at a certain point was much more affordable and offered you enough programming, whether that was from television that aired the day before or just movies and access, right? But I also see currently in this climate, people are like canceling a lot of things because it's no longer like, there was a point where like the basic entry to Netflix, I think, was $8. Hulu was $5, and then you had things like Disney Plus come along, and there were bundles for $8. But that's not the case anymore. To have like the premium version of Netflix, I think it's like 20 something bucks.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is that people are making decisions around that, you know what I'm saying, and being like, I don't need this utility anymore, right? Like, it was cool, but I just think that, listen, I think what the promise of Game Pass was and still is really dope, right? Like, you can have a monthly subscription, so instead of spending $70 for every game, you have access to it. But I do think $30 is a lot, and when you think about $360 a year, like if you look at it as an annualized thing, um, that starts to add up, and then that starts encroaching on the cost of the console, right?
Yeah,
And you know,
yeah.
we've always been curious about like what the payout model has been for these companies, so we don't know. Microsoft doesn't necessarily disclose that information. Um, but I think there is a point where people stop. You know what I'm saying? Saying like, "Hey, I'm priced out." And I think coming after the console price hikes recently, this is just like another jarring blow. It's like, oh, wait a minute. The entry point for these consoles has gone up right before the holiday season, mind you, right?
Yeah.
And now the thing that, you know, might have been the saving grace, especially when Microsoft has kind of already acknowledged that in the market they're number two. They're behind Sony. You know what I mean? So they've pivoted to prioritizing Game Pass even more than console and hardware sales.
Wait. Who thinks they're number two? They're number two?
I think Microsoft absolutely has acknowledged that they're number two to Sony in like that race. And I think that they prioritize promoting Game Pass over hardware sales.
Okay.
You know, I think because the way they treat game, you know, it's the whole Xbox is everywhere. Yeah, I mean, you can play it on your PC, you can play it on your phone, you know,
Yeah.
do cloud gaming. It's like, it's not buy the Xbox Series. Yeah, I mean, it's like subscribe to Game Pass.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, I guess my point was even like for me as a diehard Nintendo fan, and we spoke about this, you know, a couple episodes ago, but like I am not pulling the trigger on those amiibo. Not on day one. I
Yeah.
listen. I've got my fingers crossed that hopefully, you know, GameStop is going to do another like fire sale on amiibo. But even if I don't get the amiibo at $12, like I'll get them when they reach a price point that's more affordable. Because I'm not going to spend $40 on amiibo. Like I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. You know what is a very scary possibility, very real possibility is Nintendo just takes the wrong message from that and they're like, oh, I guess the time for Amiibo has come and passed. I guess we're just gonna stop making them. You know that like that would piss me the fuck off, bro.
No, you know what's funny about that too, and again, it's like, listen, I understand that the amiibo are cheaper in other places because of you know, the tariffs that are being imposed and you know, like kind of importing them to different countries, specifically the United States. Um, but you know, I think when we talk about like the functionality and the justification, it's like having a power up in Mario is not worth $40. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that was a cheat code. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That was up, down, down, left. So like, I just think that it's not like Amiibo are unlocking something. And I've always wondered why Nintendo never treated Amiibo like almost DLC. I
Yeah.
always felt like it could have been dope if they legitimately was like, you buy this figure, you tap the controller, and then it unlocks new stages, like the e-reader was on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, man. So, well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to deviate too much about like the price of Nintendo stuff, but how do you think that this is going to impact the Xbox base?
Be
You know,
honest, honestly, this is gonna sound very not console warrior, but maybe it's like kind of skirting it. But honestly, I kind of just checked out of Xbox when they just started closing, they buying and closing studios left and right, and all the exclusives that made the Xbox what it is before Phil Spencer just started messing everything up. I was like, okay, you know what? I guess I'm just done with Xbox. Like, you guys are not, like, I don't know what their strategy is. And now with this whole thing with Game Pass, like, honestly, I do not give a shit. I just checked out. I checked out on Microsoft Xbox for like a long time now, and there's no way they can get me back. I'm done. Like I'm done with
Oh
them.
wow. Oh wow. Like, it's interesting, right? Because I do think that it is going. I think that I guess, a part of me feels that Xbox is probably going to just be a game publisher. Like, I don't know that they completely get out of the hardware race, or if they do, they slowly do it. But because we could potentially see another generation of Xbox, but I think that the next generation might be the last of them making like any sort of set-top box.
Mm.
And to your point, I do think that Xbox as a brand, and I always say this, like, I think when you think about Microsoft, they're a software company, which is why it made so much sense to me that they were leading with the subscription model with Game Pass, because that's what they do. Just as like a core function of their business model, it is software. But I do think that like Phil Spencer, in an effort to like find their way, like initially was making some really cool choices, and they were doing things to kind of put the players first. You know what I mean? Like, I think the way Xbox handled backwards compatibility was pretty amazing early on,
Oh,
like.
yeah, that was all well and good, but then I don't know. They just started doing things where it's just head scratching. Now, mind you, he's there for a reason. He's Phil Spencer, right? Like he got to that position with some kind of knowledge and know-how of the industry in some way, right? And here I am, just a consumer, right? But I've just been, as a gamer consumer for like my entire life, 46 years, and his just like backwards compatibility aside, all of the moves that they're making right now just make no sense to me. Like I don't know what their plan is. Like for example, you look at Nintendo, it's just building off of what Switch One did, which is a huge success for them, right? And PlayStation, well, they're just aiming for more power, right? And maybe you could say that, oh, that's just they're just uh, staying in place, stagnant, right? But it I don't know. I'm just confused about Microsoft. I can't put my finger on what they're trying to do. Like I don't know. And it really pisses me off that with whatever they're trying to do, they're shutting down studios making these games.
Listen, I think that was definitely a concern early on, right? They would absorb these companies into the Microsoft umbrella, and then they would eventually close them, after
Yeah.
spending a ton of money. Like again, I think that you bring up a really good point, and it's like essentially like the root of it is kind of like, what does the Xbox brand represent to gamers now? And it's hard to say. It is hard to say. Like, I think that, when they launched in the early 2000s, you know what I'm saying? Like, they were positioning themselves as really like a premier competitor to both Sony and Nintendo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Essentially, they were almost playing the position of like what Sega was to Nintendo. You know what I'm saying? In the early days. But I think that's a larger question that I don't have the answer to be quite honest. I can't.
No one does.
Yeah, it's weird, and I'm interested to see like what this means, especially as they've shifted so much attention to Game Pass being their revenue model. Because I do think that there comes a point where people are priced out and they just say it's no longer worth it to them.
Yeah.
And I think that I say that in consideration of the current Western North American economic climate. Again, this is a time where people are still talking about the cost of groceries. Like those,
Hmm.
like the headlines are still like, regardless of where you stand on politics or anything, people are still saying, hey, everything is expensive, inflation is up, cost of groceries are up. So when you have this $30, which is more of a luxury thing, it's a hobby, it's like, is it sustainable? Like, because that's the other part of it. It comes down to sustainability, and can people do this, or do they have the discretionary income to do that with consistency over time? And I just don't know. I know for me, I'm like, whoa, there's a sticker shock. And
Yeah.
like, I think when Nintendo even and the Switch 2 launch, it's different because it's the new thing, right? Like,
Hmm.
people have anticipated this thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that it's not apples to apples. You know what I mean? Because it's like people have been waiting for a Switch 2 for 8 years. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
they've been gearing themselves up and preparing and then putting money aside, or you know what I mean? I think this, you're talking about an existing user base. You know what I mean? Saying like, oh snap, I gotta spend more for this thing. But I would say like let's pivot. Other big news, you know what I mean? Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 out in the world. Metacritic is up there. People are speaking highly of the game. And I mean, even as it relates to the last, the conversation about Xbox and just people being priced out, for the first time in my entire life, I will not be purchasing a 3D Mario game or collection.
Pack it up. It ends. It's over. We're done. We're out.
Pot to done, man. Idea like that. Yeah. But it's been interesting to see the Metacritic response because again, like there was a time when Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 were legitimately the highest rated games ever.
Mm-hmm.
Next to was it Ocarina of Time originally?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but now it is sitting at an 88 on Metacritic. So question, have you pulled the trigger?
I do own the physical. Yes. I did pull the trigger. I'll eventually get the digital. Not right away. But yes, I own it. FOMO.
Listen, I get it. Is there a thought or fear that this game, like 3D All-Stars, might disappear?
Yeah. That was like the first thing that came to my mind. In retrospect, I think Nintendo planned this. They planned it all along. They planned it all along, Austin. Because they took it off the shelves. The first 3D, the only 3D All-Stars collection that had 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy 1, and now they pulled it off the shelves, limited time. Went back into the vault like a Disney film back in the day.
Yeah.
And now they came out with Galaxy 1 and 2 collection. So yeah, I think they kind of planned this. That's pretty much the only thing that makes sense to me.
Again, that this is one of those situations where because of the recency of me getting 3D All-Stars, which was 5 years ago, I'm like, I don't know that I have incentive. Like, I don't feel pushed to pull the trigger on Galaxy 2 at $40. Again, I love Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. And it's great to see that they're still regarded as two of the best platform games ever in Mario's long history in the canon of the Mushroom Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I can wait. And you know what I think also kind of informs the reason why I'm going to wait? Because when I got 3D All-Stars, and to our listeners, shout out to y'all, I'll just say, like, my game collection is big, and I really get fixated, like hyper fixated on a single game at a time, right? Like, So like I might be in a game and I'm going to play that game for weeks, months, it doesn't matter like how long it's been out. I want 100% it. And I felt like by the time I actually started to play 3D All-Stars, I didn't open up Sunshine. I did not open up 64. I went straight to Galaxy 1. And, I was on the quest to like just play that. So I feel like there's also the recency of it to me because it wasn't like a game that I played only when the Wii came out. I felt like because I played the game even later than when the 3D All-Stars released, I'm like, it feels like I just played this game. So I don't know that I'm going to get it. But the other thing that I think is important to talk about is that I've seen some outlets covering that there is more to the upgrades than what we saw in the Mario 3D All-Stars collection.
Okay, such as?
I mean, they're saying that some of the textures were completely redone.
Oh yeah, I sent you. Yeah, I
The,
sent you
the,
that post.
yeah, what's funny, and in that, it brings up the other conversation to me, which is like the games were so great that like I don't care if the blades of grass look prettier. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I buy games for the fun. So I think like the attention to detail and all of that is great. It's great if the Peach's eyelashes are now even sharper than they were before.
yeah.
But I don't know that I'm going to notice the concrete or granite in the game looking sharper, because to me that has no material impact necessarily on like the overall gameplay loop, which to me was amazing, you know?
Just an aside. Did you see how all these people are losing their shit over Ghost of Yote, saying, "Oh, you can cut the grass." And I'm over here thinking, how the ever living hell does that affect the game? Like, does it matter? Anyways, anyways, I digress. Yeah, you're right. Like all these enhancements, I guess they're cool on paper, but is it really necessary? I mean, I don't know. Whatever. Maybe if they used the AI to upscale it, which I'm pretty sure they probably did. Yeah, it doesn't affect the gameplay. It's cool, I guess. It's not, but does it warrant that price? Nah, no, I don't think so.
Exactly. And I think that to me that's the biggest thing. The biggest distractor is that like this is a Switch game. It is not a Switch 2 game. There's no red case. This is still a Switch game at $70. And I think, again, it's not being, and maybe some people might say I'm being stubborn, but I think when you package 3 games, made updates to all of them, including, um, post-release of the Switch with Mario Sunshine to be compatible with the GameCube controller that launched with Switch 2.
Hmm.
I just think to myself, like, you know, you thought that it was enough of a value at $60 to sell us 3 games, and now you're selling us 2 games at a higher price point.
Yeah,
Which I'm
yeah,
like, you do the math. The math ain't math. The math
yeah.
ain't math, and 1 + 1 ain't 11. Nintendo. Um, so I think that it's too close in my mind. But actually, you know, talking about Ghost of Yote. Ghost of Yote, you know what I was surprised by? And I'll say this, that my nephew, who was a huge fan of Ghost of Tsushima, was very excited about Ghost of Yote and its release. And I'm going to say this, so please don't kill me. I have played neither, but I actually expected that this was going to be a slightly higher game based on Metacritic score.
How's it looking Metacritic wise?
Metacritic has it at an 86, which means it's a phenomenal game. Like, listen,
Mm,
it is, it's green. It's got 104 positive reviews, only 9 mixed reviews.
mm,
Um, but I thought that this second effort was going to be like the banner, and that's not to say, again, and I want to be clear, an 86 on Metacritic as an aggregate review is still very high.
mm,
Like, like that's a B plus. Um, I actually thought that it was gonna crack the 90 Metacritic score,
mm.
you know. So I was a little surprised that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought that Ghost of Yote, because following up on Tsushima, which was such a, like, I think it was a watershed moment for Sony, because I think that, like, as an action game, I think the setting, I think all of those things really resonated with gamers in a way where it's like we haven't had anything like this in a long time, you know?
Yeah. I can't comment too much on it because I have not played Ghost of Tsushima. Um, it is on my to-do list, but I just never got around to it. And yeah, I don't know. I just it's just not on my radar at the moment.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Listen, and again, I'm gonna be clear to our fans. Like we discuss all the things gaming. I do love PlayStation as a brand. I love Microsoft as a brand. I am more of a Nintendo fan. I just grew up with the brand. But I have to admit, my PlayStation 5 has been collecting dust. It has been collecting dust. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty wild. But I don't know if I'm gonna pick up Ghost of Yotei. I think the next game that I'm truly excited for on PlayStation is either Wolverine or Marvel Tokon, whichever comes out first. Like both of those games have me excited, you know what I mean? But even more so, Marvel Tokon is just a fighting fan. I'm like, oh, speaks to everything I love.
I'm gonna get I want to get Tokon because I want to support fighting games. I love Arc System Works. The
Mhm.
graphics look really awesome. That being said, I was not really, how do I say this? I had a lot of fun with the Marvel versus games back in the day, X-Men versus Street Fighter, but they're just too crazy and hectic. And I preferred more the methodical, slower paced, comparatively speaking, games such as Capcom vs. SNK,
Mhm.
right? And what was the other game you mentioned? Oh, Wolverine. Yeah, that's a game I'm really interested in. It's Wolverine, fucking Wolverine. But yeah, anything else? I'm not really all that hyped about.
Yeah,
Um,
there isn't. I mean, listen. Again, we spoke about the state of play. I think that they definitely showed like a great pipeline of games coming out for next year.
yeah,
But in terms of just like my personal attention and the games that I think will be day one purchases for me, definitely Tokon, definitely Wolverine. I think that those are, signed, sealed, and delivered. Um, but going back to what you're saying, I think just like liking slower paced fighting games. I mean, listen, MVC2 specifically was such a fast game. Like it is such a frenetic game, and I feel like when the game was out initially, I wasn't like I enjoyed playing it, but I don't think it was good. And then I remember watching a video from Maximilian Dude, and he was explaining something about like the game, and I was like, oh, it made me like rethink how I played the game when they did the Marvel vs. Capcom collection.
mhm.
And I was like, I think I've been playing this game wrong the entire time. And I remember playing a couple of my friends, and they're like, "Oh, you're cheese, and all you do is assist." But I felt like that's what Max was saying. It's like that's the point of the game. You're supposed to use your assist as often as you can to set up the combo strings and all of that stuff. But even speaking about Tokon, very briefly, I don't know if you spent any time with Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Unfortunately, no. That's just another fighting game that I purchased. I adore. I love watching videos on the tournaments and what have you. It's just because I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. But that's just a game I never like got the time. I never invested any time into it.
Got you, got you, got you. What's interesting, and the reason why I bring up Dragon Ball Fighters is because one, it's a phenomenal fighting game, right? And obviously, like it was the main event at Evo for a couple of years. I think that that game had the spirit of like what we enjoyed about MVC and just like the Marvel games, even Marvel versus Capcom 3 Ultimate, right? Which was fantastic, but it was a slightly slower pace, just a little bit slower. And I think that. You know what? It's a good comparison, and maybe a lot of gamers may not know this, right? Um, Capcom versus Tatsunoko
That's such a great game.
was incredible game, right? And honestly, it was a game that informed so much of Marvel versus Capcom 3. But I
Hmm.
always felt like as a versus game, as a mainline versus game in a Capcom series, it was a little bit slower than 2, but
Hmm.
it worked the way it did. And I actually feel like ta- Dragon Ball Fighters is more akin to Tatsunoko in terms of style. And I kind of feel like that's what we're going to get with Tokon. I think it's going to be fast paced, yes, because it's an anime fighter. It's an anime 2D fighter, but I don't think it's going to be as fast paced as Marvel MVC2. And I really like what I've been seeing, like in folks like Justin Wong playing it and people going hands on. It feels like it has a very kind of chunky. That's the best word I could feel. I like when a game feels chunky. Like when on impact you actually feel things. Like I felt like I love MVC2, but it never felt chunky to me, right? Like
Yeah.
you can get lost in the combos, but it's more because of like the muscle memory of how you're pressing the buttons and doing the combos versus even Street Fighter 6, where like you do that 2-in-1, you feel that first hit. Yeah, I mean, like there's a
Yeah.
certain kind of like, oh, okay. You know, even in Street Fighter, we talked about how overpowering the jabs can be with certain characters.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like Tokon has that kind of chunkiness, if you will, which I personally like in my fighting games. So it's fast, but still has that like when you get smacked by a jab, a medium, a fierce, or whatever, you're gonna feel it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it actually informs like the muscle memory and just kind of like the pacing of the combos. So I'm excited for Tokon quite a bit.
Yeah. I love all of those games that Capcom produced, and when possible, I would buy the games. Like for example, my brother and I, my friends, played the shit out of X-Men vs Street Fighter on the Sega Saturn, the Japanese version, because we had to get the RAM cart. I love those games. I love the artistry, right? Like the first time you're seeing these X-Men characters drawn with a Japanese sensibility, the anime manga style or what have you, the Capcom style, if you will. And I just adore them. But then when you when you watch like the high level play, it's kind of boring. You know what? It's funny when you brought up Max. Like even he agreed that like it's kind of like boring to watch some of these fighting games at high level play, because if you're a Justin Wong and you catch your opponent slipping up on this one thing, and then boom, he's just gonna keep hitting buttons, and the other guys, the opponent can't do shit. Like he's just standing there. He's just sitting there watching that combo reach like 100 something hit combo, 3 digits, and it's like, okay, it just shows Justin Wong's muscle memory for like tapping buttons is awesome. But I don't know, it just felt boring to me. It's fun at low level play. That being said, I just still prefer the more methodical fighting games, such as Capcom vs SNK, and but because I love the fighting game genre, I am going to support like every game that's come out. Like I think Birth something Eve or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, even games like that, like I would buy just to support the fighting game genre.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And I've been talking about doing this video for a while, and I've got to post it. But yeah, I think Tokon is going to be a very big game in Sony's portfolio this year. Well, next year, that is. I think that they're going to do a lot more than people think they're going to do with that game, and for a variety of reasons, but mainly because it is a Marvel property, and it isn't a single character, but it's a host of Marvel characters. You know what I mean? And I think that we know that fighting games don't necessarily like break sales records. So
Yeah.
I imagine that Sony wants to have as many people play that game as possible, and I think that they will. I think we'll see a couple of things, but listen, y'all. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's been a fantastic week in gaming. A couple of things to talk about. We've got Galaxy 1 and 2. You know what I mean? Talking about Sony and just what they've got coming up the slate, and the Ghost of Yotze, and obviously, these increasing prices with Microsoft.
It is a bit of a slow news week, aside from the Game Pass thing and Ghost of Yotze coming out, and of course the Galaxy collection. But I think for everything else, it just seems like a little slow.
Nah, indeed, you know.
Yeah.
But listen, if you've been rocking with us today, you know what I mean, it's a slightly shorter episode. You know, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone who's been listening, everyone who's been chiming in, everyone who has been commenting. Definitely appreciate it. I just want to say we will catch you in a week. Thank you as always, Brooklyn Wolf the Collector, for being here and being a fantastic co-host. And again, please check out his channel on YouTube, Brooklyn Wolf the Collector. You know, in closing, I am your other co-host, Shake of WaggleFest Gaming. Rah, 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 rah. And we will see y'all in a week.
Bye.
Peace.